I know that you've all been prepared for this, but I thought I'd just remind you just the same.
Can you handle that, Blondie?
Game over, man. Game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
It was pure evil.
I want to buy some radio ad time.
Welcome to Invasion of the Potty Snatchers. And this week, Comrade, I am joined always by my co-host Vincent Green. Hello, Vincent Green.
Nostrovia. That's all the Russian I have.
Yeah. Today, I am extremely impressionable and watch the Russian film I like. So now I'm basically a full-blooded communist, and I will do this if it pleases the motherland. Because there was 4 or 5 characters in this film and none of them were named Patrick or Mick, this Irishman got really confused. So I'm going to turn you over to Vinny to introduce our characters of this film, Sputnik, that we're here to talk about. Absolutely love this film. I was late to the party and I have a lot to say. But Vinny, who are we talking about here today?
Better late than never. Anyway, so pretty much, Sputnik
Absolutely.
is a 2020 Russian science fiction movie. It's in the same vein as like Alien. It has like remnants of like Venom. It's really cool. It stars Oksana Akinshina as Tatiana Klimova. She's a doctor who's called into the secret base by Fedor Bondarchuk's Colonel Semerdov, and Pyotr Fyodorov plays Konstantin Vishchesnuk. Veshnyukov or something. Anyway, I butchered those names, but like Anton Vasiliev plays Jan Riegel. Just the easiest name of them all. But like, I wanted to say,
I would like
them all
to apologize to our millions of Russian listeners.
Yeah,
for any offense caused.
Yeah, like I heard about this movie last year. Jared Bicey told me about it, but I ended up writing a review for 25YL. I was like, as soon as I seen the trailer, I was immediately besotted by it. It's directed by Igor Abramenko, and like the style and the way it's captivating. It's fucking oozes like gore and disgustingness and viscous. Everything is just like oozing in it, and it's fucking awesome. But like, as soon as I seen it, I did a review 6 months ago for it. I fell in love with it straight away. I watched it numerous times since, and I absolutely love it. It's like a new age.
This was your third before we went live. You told me this was your third, so like it's only came out last year, so that's quite a return on whatever 9 months, 10 months.
Well, usually when I review a movie, I would normally watch it twice, so I can really look at it properly. So unless there's time constraints.
Fight Club was always the best example of that. Like the second time you watch it, with the knowledge that you didn't have the first time. Of course, it brings new. Here's the thing I was not expecting. I was watching a sci-fi horror film from Russia, and I have to kind of own up to a couple of counts that I was wrong on.
Yeah. 2
are forgivable. One is I thought this was going to be based in the future. It is a sci-fi. It is based in the year that my old ass was born.
1983.
1983.
That's ages
and
ago.
Then, secondly, it's a long time ago.
A long time ago. I think it was like what? Is that like? Do you call that Common Era? Like so? Like, you know what I mean? Is that BC or AD?
No, we had wheelbarrows. But,
the wheel had been invented. The dawn of man.
But there's nothing more harrowing than having the year of your birth being a sci-fi. I can tell you that it really messes with you. But secondly, that it was all going to take place in space. Again, you could forgive that.
Yeah.
It was called Sputnik after all, and it opens in space.
Yeah.
But the third one was that I'm not sure, and this one I am, all joking aside, apologetic for. The third one was like, I don't know if it's going to suffer from quality because Hollywood had this shit locked down so tight. Now don't get me wrong, I've seen brilliant films come out of Australia and brilliant films come out of England, and I've even seen good films come out of Russia. The sheer quality that this film turned out to have, I completely underestimated him, and for that one I wouldn't be forgiven. For that one I am sorry.
Yeah, no, it really smacks of an A-list or an A-level horror movie, like a Hollywood horror movie. It's right up there in terms of quality, the way it's shot, the way it's delivered, the way the actors, like they didn't get like shit actors in. and they give all these wooden performances.
No.
Like the actors, it's a small
No.
cast. Like it just mentioned, the 4 names I just butchered a moment ago. But
Yeah.
so
Well, okay, we have Constantine, Tanya, the Colonel.
Yeah.
We can at least we can
Yeah.
we can just we'll leave those surnames alone.
it's actually their actual names are harder to say nearly than their characters' names.
Although I have to say, and maybe this is me, but I was like, if somebody said, you don't even know who directed that film, I'd be like, yeah, I do. And they go, oh yeah, what's his name? I go, Igor.
Yeah.
And they go, lucky guess. And I'd be like, I like that he had the name that's quite often associated with. But I have to say, oh man, I said it to you, we usually go through these films absolutely minute by minute, scene by scene, and the example that me and you use in our private conversations for how easy that can be was Reanimator, because it was like 3, 4, 5 scenes with 3, 4, 5 people, and you could literally walk through it as
Like
we
a stage play, like
the week. We could execute it on a stage if you had enough, a couple of maybe 20 people. You could possibly pull it off if you had a bit of know-how. But this had layers, messages, kind of like symbolism. It talks about the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
It talks about what the levels that people are willing to go to survive. What we will do with our backs against the wall to our fellow men.
Yeah, Cold War era secrecy. A lot of it was,
Exactly, and it's and a lot of times, like I said, the characters went from like, oh, this guy is the coward and this guy's the good guy, and then the good guy was the bad guy, the coward was brave, and it never felt like they were just trying to, it was never juxtaposed. It actually felt like the film felt fluid all of the way through.
They're sneaky, like the whole way through. It makes you constantly think. So it's like obviously we're seeing the movie through Dr. Klimova, as we'll touch upon in a minute, but like they're sneaky. You'd never know for sure who her allies are when she gets to the secret base,
if she has them.
If
she has them at all.
That's the best thing about it, and I think that was probably symptomatic of the Cold War era Russia, because like people probably thought they never knew who their friends were or their enemies, and most of the times your friends were just enemies in disguise, and people who you thought were probably your enemies were just like people that were actually your friends. You just didn't even realize it yet, that kind of way.
Yes.
That's what a lot of this film is like. It plays with that like gives you false insecurities, and as I said to you before we start recording, it's like everybody's hiding something. It's not just the cosmonaut and the creature, it's just everybody's hiding a different part of their nature throughout the whole movie.
Not people in extremely powerful positions or extremely influential positions. And we're after complimenting this film for a couple of minutes now, and we literally haven't mentioned the fact that it has a full-blown monster.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the thing about it.
Like tear your head literally from your shoulders, monster.
Like feeds on fear.
Jason Voorhees strength, xenomorph speed.
Yeah.
Monster, and it's not the biggest takeaway from the film, and if that's not a compliment to a creature feature, I honestly don't know what is.
Like everything about it is top quality. Like all of the actors, like every part could have been just your stereotypical like doctor, like you know what I mean, like guy in distress or whatever, like but every single fucking character and every single actor were actually top level the whole way through, like you know what I mean, and that's why like the creature becomes not a side note but like a bonus. You know what I mean? The
creature becomes a symptom. The creature, for me, became something really, really heinous to bounce off.
Yeah.
Because it could create a scenario where I suppose we're going to be talking about this film, and we're still talking about it on the macro, but they feed the creatures. They want to understand it. They don't want it to die. So how far are we willing to go for knowledge?
Yeah.
So then you're looking at something and you should be thinking like, oh, this is because when Jason Voorhees chases the girl who just had sex for the first time through the forest, there's not levels.
Yeah.
There's not levels. There's tropes. But at this, you were kind of thinking like, wow, like, they're feeding criminals to this thing. Well, I guess what does it say about the death penalty? What does it say about society? How far should we push ourselves in the pursuit of knowledge, as I kind of touched upon earlier? I found every aspect of this film made me think, and at the end, when I was going to bed, I remember thinking to myself, that was a creature feature.
Yeah.
I've seen 1,000 of them. Yeah. They're usually just like, I've seen, like, I grew up in the very recent times of apparently the Cold War. only a couple of years ago. And USSR, yeah. And I loved the Blob.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I love Brain Dead, and I love, you know, the really old zombie. But like the creature features, I just love them. I just had even like Never Ending Story and the wolf and stuff. I love something so powerful that you needed to avoid it.
Yeah.
It was a hunter and you were prey. And this one, I honest to God, got into bed before I even put it in the same mental bracket as these other films, because I just thought, wow. The storyteller, the person who wrote that, the director did a brilliant job, the actors did a brilliant job. I have nothing negative to say about the film.
Yeah.
But whoever wrote this and storyboarded it is an absolute genius. I just couldn't be more.
Co-written by Oleg Malovichko, I think. Jesus Christ.
I know. Yeah. We're out of our depth here.
And Andrei Zolotarev or something. I don't know. Guys, call yourselves your sons Bobs in Russia. Make it easier for us.
Yeah, just make it easier for, like, when is it the Western white man's turn to have it easy is what I want to know, you know?
I don't know, man. Didn't the Russians, weren't they like Vikings? They probably conquered a shit ton of stuff. Why do you think the country's so big?
Yeah, actually, true, yeah. I was trying to make a reverse joke.
Yeah.
Which I walked on. All right, let's if I might take the reins, let's dive more into the micro.
Cool beans.
Our film opens up in lower orbit, I believe.
Yeah.
Not by no means on the moon or anything like that, but in space. And there's quite a nice kind of repertoire between two cosmonauts, which I loved, because you could tell that a lot of it was gallows humor.
Yeah.
That they were trying to keep each other grounded in what must be an unbelievably
tense situation.
Situation, you know, where so there's a couple of like blips on the circuitry, the ship shakes and all this kind of stuff, and they laugh, like they have their little moment and then they laugh, and then one guy keeps singing a million scarlet roses, something like that.
Million scarlet roses.
Which is for some reason, like, the only part, like, obviously to speak like really fluent Russian, they're fluent Russian speakers, but like that one almost like it was written by like what do you think they'd say? I don't know, probably a million scarlet roses. I was kind of going, I was like looking at a Russian cast talking Russian, going, pretty racist, guys, pretty racist.
At least I know.
Not cool.
At least I know a little bit of a Russian song now, so it's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. But like. But I was watching this, and I was watching it with my fiance, and I said, sorry, because all the stuff kind of started to go wrong for them, and we're only a second in. I thought, you know, like we've seen Alien, and they get on a ship, and the ship works fine, everything's going fine, and the mission's going fine until it is not. Yeah. This seemed like stuff was going to shit so early. Yeah. I thought they were the Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
I thought they were the red herring. They were going to die just to show how severe a situation it actually is, and we were going to be introduced to new characters. But this is the first absolute loop it threw me for.
Yeah.
They got back to Earth.
Yeah.
We're out of space. We're out of space maybe 15 minutes into the film. Not even, maybe even a little bit less.
What I loved about it was, like, immediately when the two cosmonauts are talking back and forth and they're trying to, you know, they're ready for re-entry into Earth, and as soon as you hear something on the outside of your orbiter, like they're inside this orbiter at orbiter 4 or some shit, like you hear something on the outside of it, you know shit's going down, you know what I mean? Like as soon as that, and then something passes by the window, you're like,
yeah, exactly. And this one thing,
you
just
know
like,
what I mean? Like,
this is like, because, you know, I live in a built up estate. I don't have like my own driveway or anything, so kids are like going by the window all the time, so there'll be shadows or there'll be a ball or something, and you kind of go like, what do you think that is? It's just somebody outside, or kids, or the mailman's walking past. But like, that's not how you think in space.
Yeah. You know, it's like it doesn't matter, whatever goes past the window, it shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
the idea is that your closest neighbours are 40 light years away. There should be nothing out there. You know.
Yeah, but it sets the tension straight away. Like, that's
everything. I'm trying to fault this film. I said to you that's a 4.5-star film, and I'm literally looking back over it, thinking, what do I wish they did differently? And I honestly, God, think it's like we have an expression, us football fans, for like armchair managers.
Yeah.
Where we're just like, you know, oh well, I would have brought this person off for this part, because we're all geniuses in our head, and I had nothing, because I could not, in my wildest of dreams, met a better film.
Yeah, it's actually it leans on old tropes, but delivers them in a completely new way.
Exactly, and sometimes tropes are tropes for reasons, the same way cliches are cliches for reasons.
It's like
there's stuff that works.
Yeah, exactly. You can't complain if a story's got the 3-act structure. That's what works. You know what I mean?
You know what? That's an excellent way to avoid it. You don't get to go like, oh my god, we've good guys and we've bad guys. It's kind of going, dude, like, there's going to be people who are more likable. There's going to be people who are sit in the middle in that neutral anti-hero, and there's going to be bad guys. That's just storytelling.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? It's just storytelling.
In every story needs its backbone. Like, and every backbone has been set. Like, every backbone was created long ago. So, and that's why the backbones of these stories are known as tropes, because they've been used over so many times. But they're still so important, and all the best stories rely on tropes because they're a sturdy backbone, because they've proven time and time again that they can bear the brunt of a story. You know what I mean? These tropes that, and people diverge and use them different ways, and that's why, we get these different ages of horror and shit diverges and changes and stuff like that. But like, the tropes remain the same. It's just the way they're implemented is slightly different.
I think you have to be, because it's all about execution. Like I've said this to you before, and I'm just going to say it again and again. We sometimes get derailed because essentially we are just two mates chatting.
Yeah.
But
speak for yourself.
That is like I don't know if anyone here knew that. It's just that you never bring it up. Why do you live under such a cloak of darkness and mystery is kind of what I wonder.
I'm bona fide.
I know I've completely lost my point.
But we were talking about tropes, and I was saying how the tropes are back.
Right? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. No. Thank you. You got me back on track. The only one I find unforgivable, and I say this in all seriousness.
Yeah.
The only one I ever find unforgivable is the family, probably minus a matriarch or a patriarch, moving for a fresh start. I can't
haunted house.
Do it.
The haunted house trope. Is that what you're talking about?
An attractive teenage daughter, and I can say attractive by the way because she's 27.
Later douche cube post Buffy playing a 16-year-old.
yeah, and because she's 27 and she didn't want to move, and then there's usually a younger brother, who's like quite innocent. He's the one who'll see the ghost first, and he's kind of like just going with it because he just wants everyone to be happy. He's quite a sweet kid. That I cannot forgive. Everything else is literally just in the wheelhouse. All I want to see is execution. This film, now I'm going to jump into the micro. This film starts in space. There's a little bit of this and that. There's a rumble. There's something kind of glances by the windows. Then I don't want to jump, but essentially they just start to re-enter Earth's orbit. There's relatively little drama. It kind of jumps to a crash site. It says Kazakhstan. 1983, USSR era Kazakhstan, which would have been Russian territory. And we're back on Earth, and we will remain there for the remainder of the film, which was the first curveball it threw me, which I was already impressed with.
Sputnik's actually a satellite, so
it was the first satellite to ever go to space.
So I'm not even. I think they just used the name because it's a spacey Russian.
It's their flex. They were the first they got the first man into space and the first satellite into space.
It just sounds cool. Sputnik.
And it sounds
what I mean? It's a cool name for a sci-fi horror movie.
That could be the most bland name in Russian. You know what I mean? Like that could just be the.
It probably means something.
Bread.
Probably means something to them. Obviously, the word Sputnik. But like as you said, all of a sudden it's back on Earth and they're in the Kazakhstani steppes and you see the fucking crash site and you're like, obviously. No one survived this, that kind of thing. And then we see Russian Colin Farrell, and he's like covered in blood. This guy's Russian Colin Farrell.
It was crazy. And he was the guy who was singing Million Roses. Like he was kind of
the other guy sang it.
He was a bit more secretive in their conversation, kind of like, but he was more open. And it looks to me like two things. It's like he's almost been decapitated from the back.
Avramenko,
like just tore.
I think it's him.
And also his brain, like he's wearing a helmet, like, and that's just smashed to pieces. That's almost entirely gone, and the back of his skull is gone. So, but he's in this really, really, for the cinematography, it's quite good. He's sitting up, like he's sitting up like you would at a desk, which is the last thing you think somebody who came like through Earth's atmosphere, crash landed in a field in Kazakhstan. It's like you expect him maybe to not survive, of course, but like this guy was just sitting there, butchered.
Yeah.
And it was just like I assume maybe a farmer or somebody. It was a character that didn't even get any lines. It was just a man stumbling across it to give us the sense of what that would feel like, and I just thought, okay, I didn't know which one it was.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, one of them's gone, because I thought this was who the film was going to be about. And then the second guy climbs over the pod, bloodshot eyes to say the least, and we move away from it. That's it. The story is started, and here we go. Because then we cut to the doctor, the good doctor.
Yeah, like, Dr. Klimova. They switch it up really, like, you know what I mean?
And a few times.
Yeah. Like, and the eyes on him as well. The fucking black, like, kind of blackish eyes, like, you know what I mean?
Actually, I'd never seen a trailer for this film. I was aware of its existence.
Yeah.
But I had no idea what this was. The picture that you have behind you as we're speaking, I knew, like, there was something in space.
Yeah.
But when he showed up with the bloodshot eyes and he'd survived, I knew whatever's the fuck is going on, it's in him, a part of him, replaced him, body snatcher style.
Yeah, or body snatcher style, if you will.
Yeah. Vincent used to write reviews.
Something you should know about me. But like, yeah, exactly. They switch it up, and we find out now that we get introduced to the doctor. It's going to be the central protagonist pretty much of the movie, and she's at like some sort of official hearing, and we hear that she's after using some sort of like unorthodox techniques. She nearly drowned one of her patients to try snap him out, some sort of psychosis that he's suffering because of his mother's enablement.
I understood that it was Munchausen by proxy.
And then, like, she's pretty much going to lose her job. This is when we see Colonel Semerdov or whatever his name is. And, sorry, actually, before that, Avrachenko is the name of the other cosmonaut. I got his name wrong earlier. But, like, so... it's
sorry, his character or actor?
Yeah, no, character. His name is Avrachenko. The guy that doesn't survive.
Imagine surviving in 1983, like, crashing through Earth's orbit in like 1 billion degrees of temperature and landing, probably the landing as well, and then like this prick that you picked up along the way rips your head off. That's just...
But you'd be lucky enough to survive though, like really, like, you know what I mean, like even just
but that's what I'm saying, like you're thinking like, I made it. You know, like what could happen in this quiet little field? You know?
And the thing is, it's already happened. That's the problem.
It's already happened. Yeah.
But like, so we get introduced to her, and we find out quickly that she's into unorthodox methods, or whatever, and she's known for this, seemingly, because you know the colonel wouldn't have been there unless she had a reputation for this thing, like using unorthodox methods, and so he pretty much employs her to come to this place in the middle of the Kazakhstani steppes, the secret base, where so she can evaluate these cosmonauts that have returned, because he says that he pretty much says that it's like at the start it's a routine kind of like fucking what's the word I'm looking for, like analysis or something, like, you know,
analysis. Well, I'd like to sorry, just to jump back and say that her whole thing was I think that the patient in question, I think the mother had Munchausen by proxy, where she kept saying that the child was sick and that he was weak, and she put his head underwater for nearly a minute, and people are saying he almost drowned him, but it turned out he was like an extremely healthy young man. There was nothing wrong with him, and it was the mother that was crazy, and everyone needed to stop coddling it, because that could kill him. So she was unorthodox, and that's how we were introduced to her. So we know straight away, in a very clever way, that she's kind of like, she's about results. And she's not always about how she gets them.
And justifies the means.
Exactly. But he said something, I can't remember the line, and I wish I could because I'm about to make a point on it. But she said, that doesn't sound very Soviet. And he said, I'm not a politician.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is a meeting of the minds. This is like, obviously my wheelhouse is different to your wheelhouse. But I suddenly, just even with that line, I knew why they were talking. This guy needed results, and she gets them That's just that's again a trope, but it was set up quite nicely, I thought.
Yeah, I think he said something along the lines of that she uses her initiative or something like that, or something, because you're not supposed to be a free thinker or use your own initiative. You're supposed to fall, like, inside the Soviet doctrine and shit like that, and obey what they say.
Don't you dare go after communism. Love it. Until I see an American film I like or something
This is
like
fucking
Wolf
gay.
of Wall Street or something. I'm a full blown like Mother Russia.
I'm
communist.
never showing you an ISIS documentary.
I actually, I need to watch. Yeah. I need to watch like the first half of Sputnik, but the second half of Wolf of Wall Street, and then
What
just
the
like
fuck?
even out.
I think you'd have a seizure if you did that. Like,
Yeah, I'm very impressionable.
But so like he employs her because she's got these unorthodox methods, and as you said, he needs results and fast, because you got two hero cosmonauts, and the way like the Soviet Union back in the day was all about image, and you know what I mean, the personified perfection.
Don't forget that they had lost the space race.
Yeah,
That like they had got a man into space. They had brought a satellite into space, and even today they have a functioning space program, but they'd lost the space race.
Yeah.
So every little bit of ground that they met up, these people were legitimate heroes.
Yeah.
Absolute. Never have to pay for a drink again. Heroes.
So you couldn't.
So this was a matter of national security.
Yeah.
Like it had again.
You can't tarnish
there's gravitas to the story.
Yeah, you can't tarnish
Exactly.
their image. And that's what it's all about. That's what they were all about back then. It was all about image, projecting strength, projecting honor, pride, all these
Propaganda,
things,
yeah. Like I think it's still, Jesus, I don't know if you've noticed, but it hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
But yeah, propaganda, and
It's propaganda now because it's in the mainstream everywhere. Yeah, I said it. Cut that card.
I actually hate it, Carl,
Yeah, card, cut that.
don't cut it.
Cut.
Carl,
Get it.
emphasize it.
Get it?
Just go like,
It's propaganda now because it's in the mainstream everywhere.
that's it. I want that to be on your epitaph.
Don't make me go meh meh meh.
Outrageous.
And so we just kind of get through the intro. So now we see that one of the cosmonauts has survived, or one of them's in a bad way, and so the doctor who likes to employ unorthodox methods gets called to this secret base in the Kazakhstani steppes, and this is where we get to see like what has become of the survivor of the Orbiter 4 crash landing in the Kazakhstani steppes.
And at first appears like not an awful lot.
Mm.
He's just a man who seems to be kept on. I'm not sure. I think it was reverse. What's the word I'm looking
Two-way
for?
mirror.
You can only two-way mirror. Thank you. And there's very orthodox hypnotism. He has a metronome, which is ticking back and forth, and he's trying to hypnotize him. And your man says that he is Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sheila went, what? And he went, actor. And she goes, oh, so he's taking the piss. I was like, he's taking the piss. Watch the film. I was annoying her more during the film than she was me. So I think I need to be straight with people. But like that. But obviously, like it's it does kind of set up that whatever's going on is far beyond like a mental evaluation when you come back from something that could be traumatizing or something that soldiers firefighters, a lot of people would be standard procedure in so many situations, but this we already knew that it was already well beyond that when he's on a secret base in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, exactly.
In an isolated
because
room,
there should be like really back then the cosmonauts when they come home probably be like parade. There'd be a bit parade. They'd be strutting out in front of the public.
Literally.
Be meeting with the president
Quite
or
literally.
the prime minister, whatever the fuck's over there.
President.
Yeah, I think there's I know it's all Putin anyway. So pretty much pre-Putin. Where was the Putin before Putin?
Gorbachev.
Then.
Gorbachev was around back then. Yeah.
The guy who
He's still around. The guy with the birthmark on his
the
forehead.
guy who oversaw Chernobyl. Well done, Mr. Gorbachev.
Yeah, actually. He's still alive.
Do you know, like...
He's still alive. He's in his 90s. He's still alive as this recording.
Is he,
I swear to God, I didn't know until a week ago.
Better not say
He's still
anything,
alive.
so.
Yeah. So drink your vodka, people.
Yeah. So now we see the first examination of Constantine. I think that's his name. Isn't it? Constantine, the cosmonaut that we saw at the crash site at in the Kazakhstani steppes. So as you say, like now you see like that he can't even be hypnotized. Obviously, this is a guy of real mental strength. So what the fuck's going on here? He's got this like weird amnesia. He says he can't remember the events of when we saw him and Avachenko, and to the point where he was found and taken to the facility. He says he has no recollection of what
Yes.
occurred in that period of time, and this is why the doctor.
With the exception of, excuse me, so I'm sorry for speaking.
No, go on.
With the exception of stepping out of that pod,
Yeah.
and we've seen that he's no memory that we don't have.
Yeah.
You know, like he just knows that he started the initiative of re-entering Earth's orbit, and we seen him kind of getting out of the pod, looking all fucked up, eyes and all that kind of
all
stuff.
covered in blood and shit.
But other than that, he actually doesn't have answers, which is good. Which is a good storytelling because it's believable, given the circumstances we've been given. But he said, "Yeah, look, I was re-entering orbit, and now I'm here." And you're thinking, "Wow, this guy is."
And his state of amnesia,
completely oblivious. Yeah.
His perceived state of amnesia is the reason Dr. Klemova's there. What's her name? Is it Tatiana? I
think it's Tatiana, but Tanya, kind of the way a friend would. Tanya to friends, and he ends up calling her Tanya, and we're just going to call her Tanya, I assume, just to.
Tatiana, right?
You're right to reviews.
But we see now that he doesn't react to the doctor that's currently at the base, so this is why she was brought there because his
Regal. I remember his name.
And because of his state of amnesia. Is the reason she's there in the first place because they're trying to unlock the information of what happened between when we seen the intro of the movie to the crash landing. So immediately she's offered a cup of tea. Colonel Semradov says tea or coffee, and she asks for tea. And after the first examination is done with, she takes her tea. She brings it into Constantine, and she says to him that do you want this? Do you want tea or whatever? And he says, thank you. And he touches the tea and brings it and just starts drinking it or whatever. And she examines him, talks back and forth about what's his state of memory, what's his mental state. And we see that you know what I mean? He seems very normal at the start. Maybe too normal. He looks like a guy that's compartmentalized and whatever the fuck happened.
Exactly.
Before, you know what I mean?
There's something I'd like to touch on there, and this is what I'm saying about. I thought this was a great film.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody's listened to this and they didn't think it was a great film, it's fine. They're perfectly entitled.
Yeah.
I mean,
also wrong.
One of the few reasons. Also wrong.
Yeah.
The reason I thought this was actually a great film is because she went in there with a pot of tea. Everything in a film, nothing's not on purpose.
Yeah.
Sometimes somebody bumps into something and they keep it in the take, or they say a line, but nothing's. She brought in something that he could hurt her with.
Yeah. And
she gave it to him.
Yeah, because she wanted.
At that, she's willing to put herself into, at least as the film progresses, she puts herself into a little / a lot of danger based on theories or based on trying to find the truth. Her drive.
So her whole thing,
and this was the first one.
Yeah, her whole thing's about pushing boundaries, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he was sitting there, and he sat on her side of the table, literally sat on the table on her side, and she was sitting on a chair on one side, and he's drinking a cup of scalding hot tea, and he's pissed. He's okay. He's doing okay. He's kind of making jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's pissed off because he feels okay. He wants to talk to his mother.
Yeah.
Etc. Etc.
Oh, because he writes the mother's number down on her paperwork.
He does, yeah, and she but she's brought in something. She brought in a weapon. Could take her hostage if he was so inclined, but he didn't, because at that time, as we would perceive him, it's just genuinely a guy that doesn't really know what's going on and just wants to go fucking home.
Yeah.
And Regal guy was trying to hypnotize him before, and it was just bullshit. He was just so by the book and unimaginative by comparison, and he's only been introduced a few minutes, but we already have the ballast. We already have the thing to measure her against.
Yeah, exactly. He's the system and she's the outside the box. As if he's the guy that
exactly.
Yeah, he just stays inside the box and she's always outside. You know what I mean? So that's.
But that's never really explained to viewers. So if you picked up on it cool, and if you didn't cool, as in they just I find when films start explaining things to me that I picked up on,
Yeah.
because they don't want to leave anyone behind, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because don't get me wrong, I don't always pick up on stuff.
Yeah.
Just like everyone else, you have absolutely moments where it just completely glazes over.
Blind spots.
Blind spots, of course. But this film, like, if you have blind spots, you have blind spots. I promise you, it'll make sense in 100 minutes.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, it'll make sense. But this film didn't try and dumb itself down.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that nobody got left behind. And if you did get behind, it wasn't like so pivotal that you couldn't enjoy the film. And I know I'm kind of like making a lot out of a teapot, and I really, really am. But I just thought from this point onwards, it's like, oh no, every move this woman makes has been this 3-dimensional chess going on.
Yeah, she's very strategic the way she implements her little like fucking movements in and out the base. Like how she interacts with people, everything has a strategy behind it. You know what I mean? Like, so, like as you see later on, like, you know, she seems a little bit doughy-eyed at the start, but like as soon as the story progresses along, you see that she figures out how to kind of like not only interact but kind of survive and kind of, you know, thrive within the situation she's found herself in. You know what I mean? Because like. Yeah. There's lots of times in it, like as we said earlier on, she doesn't know who her enemies, she doesn't know who her friends are. So like to survive even any length of time in that situation where like anything's like a potential landmine, I could, like, you know what I mean, that she could step on, because she doesn't know what the situation is. It's a matter of national security is all she knows. And you know what I mean? So
she even addresses the fact that there's going to be a non-disclosure agreement on the helicopter ride over.
Exactly, like, you know what I mean, because she knew something was up, otherwise why would you be bringing me out?
She's not wet behind the ears.
I
mean, they make it very clear from word one that she's not a greenhorn. She's not. It's not her first rodeo, and she knows how the Soviet Union works.
Because like so like, do you know, after this part, like as you said, like, because you were touching on how everything has symbolism, so she gives the cup of tea to Constantine, and after that, she takes it back from him when she's leaving, and she takes her paperwork or whatever at the end of their first session or whatever, and she goes out and she hands it to the other doctor. What you say his name is Regal.
Sorry, when you're seeing it come up, Rigel. However, that would be pronounced.
So Jan, Regal, pretty much. Maybe. Jan's his first name. So Dr. Jan.
Oh, okay.
But so like she hands him the tea, and we see now that the tea is scorching hot. And he nearly drops it out of his hand immediately, and then she diagnoses the cosmonaut Constantine for having PTSD, because there's a problem with his the way his nerves are reacting to pain sensory or whatever, like, you know what I mean, the pain sensory factors.
A detachment that is not normal. That is, you know, beyond the bounds of what should be normal. I even looked up when PTSD was actually diagnosed, because I was shell shock. You know, it used to be shell shock, and people used to think it just happened in wars. And but it was 1980, so it was quite, you know, quite common, and she was just right. That's it. He's got PTSD. Are we done here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because she's terrified of stepping into something she can't come back out of.
Exactly. She was just, at the same time, she was kind of like, I don't think I need to be here for whatever the fuck this is.
Because she knew.
You know, like
sorry, no, I was just going to...
Clinical psychologist, would she be? Like, what was...
Yeah, like, I was just... Because she knew straight away, like, from the helicopter onwards, that she's in over her head a little bit. That, like, there is real potential for her, like, to lose her life here from get-go. Because she's not stupid. She's grown up in the Soviet Union. All she wants to do is, like, okay, I'll give them their part of the deal. He'll help me out with the review board. I get my job back. That's
exactly. You know what I mean? There was something in it for her. There was like a one and done, as they say. It was single punch fight.
Well, quid pro
one
quo.
And done, kind of like, So, what I was surprised by, and of course it makes perfect sense minutes later, was that the colonel who brought her there was just like, there's a helicopter leaving in the morning. Best of luck. See you later.
Well, he knew.
Peace out.
He knew though from straight away that he was after getting her. Her curiosity is her weakness.
Yes.
He knew from her methods.
And don't forget, and he knew, because it wasn't the first time, we just to jump a little bit ahead and get on with the show, is that every night at, I think it was between 22, 3 and 10 past, something like that.
2:15 and 3:15 or something like that.
Something like that, just in those wee hours in the morning. This creature, and this is it, this is where it becomes a creature feature. We've stopped dancing around it.
Yeah.
He comes to her door and he says, "Oh, good, you're awake," and then it shows.
No, she goes out.
Our friend.
She goes out for a late night jog.
She does, yeah, but I think she's back in her room by the time the colonel comes. Yeah, but he says, "Oh, good, you're awake," and he brings her there. But then we see our Constantine fall out of his bed. It looks like he's in actually a terrible amount of pain, and his bones and stuff are contorted in a way
Like he's a werewolf or something.
Incredibly painful, like breaking bones and stuff. And this creature turns out to be about 1.5 meters tall, which is slightly taller than the average person. Yeah. That literally climbs out of him. Apparently, it's explained later that when oxygen hits it, like when an environment of oxygen hits it. That's
one of the best scenes in the whole movie. When they explain the physiology. I was thinking earlier on that, like, when I watched it, the actual science, how they explain not only the symbiotic relationship between Constantine and the creature, but how it contains itself within his esophagus and his torso, and the science behind the creature and his symbiotic relationship with it. That was one of the strongest parts of the whole movie because it seemed real.
I think,
you know what I mean.
Dum-dums like us don't need to, because I don't know what like DNA mapping is or the human genome or any of this. I know of it.
Yeah.
But I do want something explained to me that my brain can kind of go, oh, yeah. You know, I just don't want it to be, because otherwise it's supernatural.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's Freddy Krueger type thing that's going on, and that's not. It's not what this is supposed to be. It's sci-fi horror.
Yeah,
so I was very satisfied with it, because we're saying like even that it releases an enzyme in the esophagus that A causes amnesia, and B is a sedative, and C, the pain aspect of it. Like, so he is, despite the fact that he's contorting and making all these sounds, this is literally just the creature escaping from a comatose.
Yeah, do you remember they described it as Constantine as the creature's spacesuit? Yeah, I fucking love that.
Loved that. But he comes out, and of course, her being her, Tanya or Tatiana, whichever you want to call her.
Yeah.
Formal or informal.
Dr. Klimova. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. She earned it, so have some respect. But she instantly goes, "Oh, let me in. Can that kill me? Let me in there with that," because that's just her deal. And she goes in, and of course, they have him segmented in a room, and there's the interview room, and then there's a bed room, and there's literally a kind of that bulletproof, really dense glass that you, and she goes up to it, and there's and it's in every film. Again, we're going back to tropes, but it works. You know it's coming, and it scares you anyway.
Yeah,
and it did it really, really well. I was just sitting there, I was going, oh, this is the act normal. It's up at the glass. It's curious of her. Yeah. She's curious of it. And then it just jumps as if it's going to attack her. And it got me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was just like, my God, like I literally knew this was coming. I was counting down to it.
Yeah, because one thing we forgot to mention was that Constantine, the cosmonaut that has survived the re-entry, has an estranged son in an orphanage in Rostov-on-Don, and literally there's this little toy that they use as their zero-G signifier, or whatever they call it, in space. So when they get zero gravity, it floats. And this little toy has a lot of it seems to have a lot of resonance with Constantine, because it reminds him of his abandoned child. And when the creature...
It's a balanced toy.
Yeah.
It's basically a toy, one of those... I actually thought it was a Russian nesting doll, because it is that kind of design. Yeah. But it's one of those toys that you just simply can't knock over, that it will always find its equilibrium. So it's got a gyro. Yeah. Is that the word I'm looking for? It's got a
gyroscopic motion or some shit. Is it?
You were very smart.
Yeah.
We're very
smart. And we say science words, we enjoy them.
Yeah. I think we need to address it and own it, and not apologise for super smart.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Outrageous.
You just heard the allegedly siren.
But the creature reacts to that, obviously, and she there's everything that you pick up as a viewer that's sometimes frustrating that people don't pick up in the film. She was actually like such a great relief from that, because she picked up on everything.
she was trying to touch it though.
Instantly.
What the fuck was she thinking? Like, she walks up behind this creature that's obviously not from this earth, and she goes up and she's like, "I'll just tap it on the shoulder. We'll see what the story is."
Right, she gives it to. Sorry, she asked for the glass to be raised,
Yeah.
and she gives it to Toy.
So before,
because it reacts to the Toy.
Yeah.
We find out that it has no auditory receptors.
yeah, they put her in the protective suit.
Yes.
So what happens is, initially she goes in and sees the creature, and she lies down on the ground, and the creature starts mimicking her emotions. And the other doctor, Dr. Regal, keeps like shouting stuff, and she says, "Be quiet." And as Noel said,
what are you doing and stuff?
and this is where we find out, as Noel said, that has no audio or auditory receptors.
She's like, "Shut up, nerd."
Yeah. And she decides that she wants the glass to be risen, and they said they have to put her in a protective suit, and she walks into the enclosure, like a cell pretty much, where Constantine's unconscious on the ground. There's all this like fluid on the ground where the creature is moving around. She brings this toy in or whatever, and she puts the toy on the ground, and when the creature's reacting to the toy, she goes to tap it on the shoulder like a fucking idiot, and she slips on the ground. When she slips, that frightens the creature and jolts into action, and it grabs her by the leg and tries to fucking kill her.
My understanding of that was different. I actually think when she fell, she got frightened.
Oh,
We
yeah.
find out later
and
that
I get
the
you.
creature, because it made, at the time at least, it's evolving. It didn't have auditory receptors, but obviously its sense of smell. I don't know. It seemed to be able to hunt in space. So you tell me how good its sense of smell is.
Yeah, it hunts from pretty much the cortisol levels in your brain or whatever.
Cortisol, turns out to be, to jump a little bit ahead, but to stay where we are.
Yeah, just know because you.
So for me, sorry, and again, it could be both, because again, it could be the vibration of her hitting the ground.
No, I think you make a
that
fair
sort of
point
thing.
there. Yeah, no, she's, as soon as she feels fear, because before that, I think she's just curious. And like
she was about to touch it, literally touch it on its
you know what I mean?
ear,
So she definitely wasn't afraid
and she's
of it.
fine. It's not reacting to her.
Yeah.
But then she slips and kind of like the creature's excreting, and she lands on her arse, and it reacts as if literally to kill her.
Yeah.
It actually scratches up her leg pretty bad. They come in, they drag her out, they get the glass.
Yeah,
back
they
down,
like flashlight.
Safe but her.
Like flashlight. This
Right, they turn on lights in the cell.
This is when we find
which you can't take.
Yeah, this is when we find out that the creature's a nocturnal creature, and that's why he feeds between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. or something. And not only that, is we mentioned Constantine's like its spacesuit, so it can only kind of survive outside of him in this oxygenated environment for between 50 minutes to an hour each time.
Growing.
Yeah.
It's growing though.
Yeah,
apparently,
and
you know what I mean?
it's yeah. So it's like it's slowly adapting to its new environment, and like this is a worry that we see later on in it, like how its adaptation could affect their ability to control the creature or its relationship with Constantine and shit like this.
This was my, and again, we're getting into spoiler territory. I know, like obviously, if you haven't picked up and there's going to be spoilers in this, then I'm sorry. That doesn't lie with us. That lies with
the
you.
The whole idea of the show is we're going to talk about movies.
Yeah, you know what? You're an idiot. There. We don't want you here.
Put that card.
I know, but this is the point that this is the first time I felt a little bit of suspicion towards the colonel. Because don't get me wrong, I straight off I thought he'd do the whole military, like no witnesses, all that. I wasn't under any illusions.
Yeah,
but this is the first time I thought like kind of like seemed to show genuine care for her. But I thought to myself, this guy is 100% on your side, but only if you're 100% on his.
Yeah.
This guy is going to do whatever it takes to get from point A, as he perceives it, to point B, and this creature is a part of it. Because they could have literally just said. Now he acted as if he wanted to save the cosmonaut.
Yeah.
Because there was a symbiosis already forming between them. So you kill one, you might as well remove his liver.
Yeah, because
it's just not that simple.
It's because this is the point where right after this, like this is where like before. Earlier on in the movie this is where they play really excellently with music throughout this movie. It's like one of the strengths of the movie is the score, the soundtrack, whatever you want to call it. But like when it gets to this stage, I love the kind of beats in the background when it has the colonel's voice. I think he's they're showing all these little bits of experiments or whatever and information, x-rays about the creature, and he's giving us the information that we touched on earlier. You know, it lives in his esophagus, lives in his torso. it can go up to like 30 centimeters, I think, in length while it's inside of Cosm, not Constantine, and
Which, considering it's essentially the size of a person, a very, very, very slender,
yeah,
a Carol.
yeah,
It's a Carol that's able to climb into your throat,
yeah.
which is the opposite of my experience with Carol.
Oh god, that's disturbing in so many
Carol,
levels.
if you cut it, you're dead.
But like, yeah, so the creature, we find out, expands because of the oxygenated environment, and as you said, it goes up to 1.5 meters, and like, this is when the first time we kind of see when she's looking at all the research and all the information and the way the creature reacts with Constantine and vice versa, that she writes the question, parasite or symbiote. And this is the first time we understand now whether or not do they both need each other to survive, because like now we see that Constantine is like, the way he heals, the way he's able to train, everything's improved. So he's not like,
Sorry, yeah. It wasn't just that, they did touch upon that before. It wasn't just that he was not uninjured. It was that he healed from
in 2 days
very detrimental injuries in 2 days, and that like they had him doing pull-ups.
Yeah.
And I think he was up to, let's just say, 25, 30, 40, 50, and he was just like, I could do more. As in, there was this kind of payoff.
Yeah.
This thing had you kind of working at a literal superhuman level, because there was something inhuman
like
added to the cocktail.
Exactly. Like, so at first you think like the whole, so this, like, I think I clocked it was like around 27, 30 something minutes, I think. This is when we seen the creature for the first time, because I always kind of try to take notice of those things when they let the creature loose in these movies. And after that, like, because as soon as you see the creature, like, oh, that creature's killing him, and then you get the information immediately. It's like, oh wait, is the creature killing him or is it improving him? And can he now? The question comes: can he survive without the creature in the same way the creature can't survive without him? Or if the creature does survive without him, does he die? And shit like this. And now, like, it really warps the situation, because at first it's all about, let's get the creature. Can we get the creature out of Constantine? Now, and then it turns into, should we get the creature out of Constantine? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you kind of like, at first, that's when my first suspicions come out that there's going to be like, is it about him?
Yeah.
Because he's a man.
Yeah.
Like if the USSR lost a man, it would not be the rise nor fall. But this was a game changer.
Yeah.
This thing was something they had. The Yanks didn't have it. The British didn't have it. The French didn't have it. They had it.
Yeah.
And that's where you get in your head. You kind of gone like, yeah, you think you're in a rescue mission. You're not. You are smack bang center in the military industrial complex.
Yeah, exactly. Because
and you have a conscience.
Yeah.
Best of luck. Yeah,
and because immediately we see that Semradov wants to weaponize this creature. That's all he cares about. The colonel that runs this base at in the Kazakhstan steppes or whatever, he all he wants to do is immediately weaponize the creature. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, I think that was her fear from the get-go. As soon as she comes in contact with the creature, that she wants to study it, but he wants to turn it into a weapon. That's all he views it as. Stu said, like, the Yanks don't have it, like, so he starts to pressure her into finding a way that they can control the creature. She's more concerned about getting the creature out of Constantine, but because of the research they've done, they know that there is a symbiosis starting to be, starting to come to play here. And like, as soon she wants, so this is where the two of them kind of butt heads. Like, she's just trying to separate the creature from Constantine, but he's trying to figure out a way of controlling Constantine and using him and it as a weapon.
CCTV. This is where she's been attacked. She goes into the room, and this was the only funny moment of the whole film.
Yeah.
That Dr. Regal, whatever you said, Jan?
Yeah.
He's looking at the footage of her getting her kind of leg torn open a bit.
Yeah.
But like ultimately surviving, but he's kind of almost looks like he's enjoying it. But she goes in and she goes, "May I?" And she sits down and she realizes that the footage has been cut.
Yeah.
And she goes to him, like, "What's happened here?" And he goes, "I don't know, like, technical this or that." And I'm thinking, this dude's a weasel, a coward, outdated, can't think outside the box. Apparently a Nobel Prize winner, but like just very much a rigid.
No, she keeps saying, "I'm not going to get in between you and your Nobel Prize," because after this announcement, he'll be sure to get a Nobel Prize for his work on an alien creature.
Was that? He was teasing him, right? But he goes, But eventually, it turns out that there's this literal human layer to him.
Yeah.
Which is just good storytelling, where there's just like, right, there is, basically there is footage cut out. You want to fucking see what's going on here?
Yeah.
You want to see what's actually going on here?
Yeah, because
He goes, right, I'll show you what's fucking going on
she
here.
asked
I loved
him,
it.
how do you feed the creature?
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
She addresses that thing where it needs
Because she
some
says
sort of
pigs.
sustenance.
And he was like, if you want to see...
That's
Yeah.
right, she says pig. And when he kind of goes a little bit silent, obviously you know that in terms of the food pyramid, that it's going to be at least a step up from it.
Yeah.
But there's not too many steps up
Yeah,
from
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like, as soon as you can see him getting nervous, some shady shit's going down in terms of like, meal consumptions at the base. You know what I mean? Because so like, when she goes, so like the next scene is at nighttime, isn't it? Like, so she goes to bed or whatever the fuck. He comes and gets her, and they go in a Jeep. And they drive out to some like...
She hides under a drape in the back.
Yeah. She gets in the boot or something. And he goes to, like, we see it's like an enclosed area. It's like, it looks like cells, or it's all like chain link fences.
You know what it is? I'd imagine it was it was literally a prison yard for the more, because I watch kind of a lot of prison documentaries and stuff, and these are the yards for the people who are more unstable or more severe crimes, sex crimes, that sort of thing.
Like a gulag or something.
They're a smaller yard where they could let 1 to 2 people for an hour, as opposed to a yard with common offenders. So it looked like that.
Kind of like
I'm fairly certain that that's what it was.
Like the super maximum security prisons in America, where they only let you out an hour a day or some bullshit.
They let you out an hour a day when you're like the worst of the worst. And but essentially, it's about the size of a tennis court, but it's yours. As opposed to a massive yard that has to be shared with hundreds of people. But then there's the back and forth of like company / isolation, blah, blah, blah. But it looked like that. In fact, I won't be surprised if that's where it was filmed, like in something, an abandoned prison of some description. But they lead this guy in, and they, he's bound. They throw him on his side.
No, he gives Jan Riegel gives Dr. Klimova a pair of night vision goggles. Like infrared or heat vision or some bullshit. And he says, the last for 10 minutes, the batteries do. And he gets out of his Jeep and he goes in, as you said, they're throwing like a prisoner in. And then we see the rest of the scene through the goggles.
That's right. Yeah. And our creature, it turns out there's a little door at the back of what would be the bedroom inside of the unit that's containing our cosmonaut, Constantine. And this creature comes out and it goes in, and I make the observation, and she addresses it almost immediately. And that is, instead of like just blindfolding you, tying you to a chair, I just like an execution by the firing squad.
Yeah.
The point is that you die.
Yeah.
Execution by electric chair. The point is that you die. But this they left him there to see their fate.
Yeah.
And we figure out quite quick that, because I remember saying to Sheila, my fiance, is this thing supposed to eat an entire human being and then climb back in a dude's throat?
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make a terrible lot of sense. Then I realised it's the fear chemical.
Yeah.
It's cortisol.
Yeah, it's just eating your head, pretty much.
It's eating your head, but it's feeding on that. So you need to see it coming, because the sheer fight or flight, that would release in your brain, because you're literally face to face with something not of this earth, is what it needs. And it literally tears the guy's head. It's very beautifully shot, because they could have gone for the real guts and gore of it, but for some reason shot from the night vision goggles, which I actually thought it worked.
I
just thought it was cool. It was just how easily it disposed of a person, just like the way we strike a match. It was just done.
They were very clever about how they held back from the way they show you the creature in attack mode. Like they hold it back until they really need to show you in all its glory, you know what I mean? So it's like, it kind of had a feeling of Predator or something about it, where you see, in Predator, where you see him taking the scorpion in his hand through the heat vision, like the infrared or whatever, you know what I mean? So like, I think it's cool that the way they play with the creature and that they show you in different ways before they kind of, run into the big showpiece where, later on in the movie and shit, not to skip too far ahead. But so she spews her lunch all over her, or I suppose it'll be her dinner. It's pretty late at night, but she spews her dinner all over the back of the Jeep, and Like, there's a cut to another scene. What follows that part after the feeding?
Sorry, it's like a soldier kind of like, there's that whole
Yeah,
classic tension of, is she going to be caught? Is she going to be caught? And then she's just kind of holding her own mouth
Yeah.
because, like, you know, she is an unorthodox woman, an extremely intelligent
Yeah.
woman, but not an amoral woman
yeah,
by any stretch. What she just saw was wrong,
yeah,
stomach churning, and but no, you know, I think it's just that classic thing where somebody gets the person who's about to investigate gets distracted, like a bird whistle from somewhere else. You know, it's when, you know, it's but it turns out the colonel absolutely knew because he knows everything.
yeah, exactly. Like, so that kind of sets us into the second half of the movie. And before we go there, do you want to go on a break, man? Or
Okay, this is going to be the halfway mark for Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where we're just going to go and take 2 or 3 minutes to ourselves. But again, through the magic of editing, you won't know anything about it, so do not worry. But I'm hoping that you'll stay with us for the second half, because we're really into the meat and the bread and meat of this film, and I really, really, really loved it. I hope if you've seen it, you did too. But me and Vinny are going to break down where it really comes together now in just a moment's time. See you in a second, folks. Stay with us.
Right.
Thank you. And this is the Invasion of the Potty Snatchers.
yeah, see you soon. Welcome back from the break. I'm your host, Vincent Green. He's your host, Noel John Tootie. This is the Invasion of the Potty Snatchers. We're back for the second half of Sputnik, the Russian sci-fi horror / thriller, I guess you could call it. And we picked up last time, we left off last time, where Dr. Klimova finally got to see the creature feeding for the first time. That it feeds on humans, people, and it's not good. And now she has a moral quandary. Is it okay for it to kill and eat these horrible, you know, pretty much the dregs of society, for lack of a better term, these rapists, these killers? And now the moral quandary is a human life still worth as much as each other? Like, is a human life still hold value even if it belongs to someone that's like evil, or someone that's done and such horrible acts or whatever? And this is the quandary she has to ask her, has in front of her, coming into the second half of the movie. How pretty much not only with the prisoners, but with Cosmonaut Constantine, it's like, how much does she value a human life? Pretty much is what the second half of the movie is. A lot of it's about.
Okay, enter like philosophical thought processes. There's a very famous one about the tram, and there's a tram that hits 1 and there's a tram that hits 5, and all you can't stop it. It's coming downhill. And it's over a ton in weight, so it's a couple of ton in weight with velocity, and you're holding the lever.
Yeah.
So it can be the one, and it's just it's back to that old Vulcan needs a many overweight and needs a few with her one.
Yeah.
But she kind of was instantly struck with this, like what was going. Like she meets the colonel, and she like the colonel knew everything.
Yeah.
He even let her, you know, he wanted her.
He is running the
and he
base.
apologized. Yeah. He said, I should have been upfront with you.
Yeah.
And she absolutely speaks the truth. She said, you know, it's disgusting. So I'd shut my fucking mouth because I'm expecting a bullet in the head. But she says, like, he takes out one file and he says, like, this person raped and murdered the 12-year-old daughter of a neighbor. He goes, these aren't people.
Yeah.
These aren't people.
Yeah.
And a part of me kind of went,
I agree with him.
yeah, like, I mean, I'm one of these people, like, again, I'm completely anti-death penalty for one simple reason, that sometimes
people don't do it.
If you can even one time get it wrong.
Yeah.
If you could one time get it wrong. But if someone, like, you know,
I'm
like a
just
dyed in
saying,
the wool, absolute rapist murderer, then yes, I don't give a fuck.
I'm just saying, in terms of ways of executing people, if you're going to feed them to aliens, you got to be up there on cool factor alone, above the electric chair, you know, the standard bearers of the lethal injection, the hangings. they have their own reputation. Like, I'm not going to trounce over their storied past, but if you're going to start capital punishment by feeding people to aliens, I might be on board for a while just to see how it happens. Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
See, that's how we talk here. Right?
Like, innocent, are they? Well, this guy stole 5 sausages.
Yeah, feed him to the alien.
From the butcher.
Like, your one from Austin Powers, the German one.
Yeah. This guy's favorite Star Wars was the Phantom of the Menace Star Wars, and I'm like, feed him to the aliens. As in, this one supports Manchester and you feed him to the aliens.
And so like pretty much, I agree to an extent. Like, if you are going to have to feed humans to an alien to study it further, I think they're the kind of humans who should be feeding to them, I guess.
But see, that's the thing, isn't it? Again, this is the thing. I said it to you that I question whether we should, and I'm glad we are. I'll admit, I'm glad that we are kind of going through it like as a start to end thing, and trying to keep it as chronological as we can.
I told you could do it.
But I just, and you're right. But I honestly, God, thought there was nothing in this film that was one thing. Nothing.
Yeah.
Everything was like, there's moral quandaries, there's philosophy, and there's also just that what if thing that life has, as in what would you do in their shoes. You don't have that in, like, you go back to the original Terminator, don't know why you just run them here, and one is just a machine. It can't be reasoned with. It is simply doing something. That's all it's doing. And you are trying to keep somebody alive and might save humanity. There is no X and O's. There is no paths. There is no way to look at this. There is a thing that you could do that would keep an innocent person alive, and there's a thing that you could do that would have them murdered. So there's nothing, and you just get to enjoy it. I everything in this. While I enjoyed it immensely, everything scratched my head.
I think the main thing behind the Terminator things is like our rampant technological advancements will eventually wipe us out. Pretty much, the Terminator was the embodiment of our own.
Oh yeah. It turned out to be social media. That's it. We're done. We're already done. I mean, it happened. It happened like in 2014 with the ice bucket challenge. I think. I think that was.
It's probably like the scary thing about it is the computer that will wipe us out is probably already online somewhere. Delete.
Anyway, sorry, we should point out at this moment, this podcast is sponsored by the very computer Vinny just
I can't let you do that, Noel.
Lactation porn. I'm afraid I can't let you do that. No!
But they're so milky. That's lactose I can tolerate.
Oh, levels. Yeah, I can't even keep abreast of it.
But, come on, this guy.
Let's not do this.
That's why
we bought we got one in
the next 45 minutes of the podcast. I was just doing titty puns.
Yeah. Just like, Carol, cut this, and I'll let you know when you stop.
It's like 6 hour long podcast, an hour and a half usable footage.
Just like, anyway, I have to go to work.
And so we're signing off. Noel's going to work, and we'll see him again at 5. So pretty much back to the movie, right? So Dr. Klimova finds out that the colonel knows what's going on in the base. He knows that they've been feeding prisoners that look
overseeing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Not knows, you know what I mean? Like, he literally organized everything. It's 100% on him.
Yeah, and this is where he.
Well, it's just the whole following orders thing, kind of concept. That's been around since the Second World War, absolutely, but it doesn't delve into that. But he is the guy who is organising this and giving the orders.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, he's kind of gone rogue as well, because we find out that he's been sending false reports back to command in Moscow that that
they all died in a fire.
He said that it was a fire accident, but cosmonaut Constantine survived. And like the second thing he lists, he goes, I've been sending back fake details. He goes, you know what he's been eating? His feces. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the second thing he lists is his shit. Like, he's like, hey, I was just thinking like your food. What happens to the food after he eats it? It becomes feces, I guess. I'm sure they'll want to know about the fecal matter of this dude. You know what I mean? Like, so I just thought that was weird that the second thing he listed up was shit. So I know.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah. But she's kind of like stands by her convictions, but the fact of the matter is he's not completely wrong. Like he's mostly wrong because it's a completely immoral thing to do. But this is just the thing. This is just the thing where you just do not know until you're at the helm.
Yeah.
Things you never have to think about because your life is, to be honest, quite mundane. Like it's very normal decisions.
Yeah.
You feed your pets and you take care of your house and it's just very normal stuff. It doesn't have any huge ramifications. But what if you're in a position? I'd be like, I wouldn't agree with him at all.
Yeah.
But then he shows the files and they're literal monsters.
Yeah, like
monsters.
Scum shaped like humans.
And you can't on some level discern. And look, this is storytelling.
Yeah.
This isn't like in real life where we're kind of going, oh, were the facts of the case all? No, this is storytelling. If they tell us the guy was raping and murdering little girls, then he was. Because it's a storytelling device. And then you're just thinking like, what the fuck do you think I'm going to do? Cry for him?
Yeah, exactly. And this is like...
What the fuck you want from me? Like?
As you mentioned before, the cinema's layers and shit. Like, so this is where it offers up that whole moral quandary we said before, but the kind of the grays is like... The capital punishment is not always black and white. Like if this guy did rape a 12-year-old and murdered her, that's the kind of guy you should be feeding to an alien. You know what I mean? But is it still the right thing to do in the fact that like he's still a human and his basic rights there, maybe he should be detained forever or whatever. But like that's the question they're asking there in the guise of an alien. Is capital punishment right, no matter how bad or evil the human is? Like, you know what I mean? Is what is the life got in the end of the day? Like, pretty much like if I kill someone and they sentence me to death, are they also guilty of murder because they've also murdered me? You know what I mean? So that's the moral grey area, I guess, for capital punishment.
Everything kind of becomes a thinker because this is extraterrestrial life. This is not a like better luck next year.
Yeah. This is
not like. Like I didn't go skydiving this year. I promised myself I would, but I'll overcome this hurdle. It's not. There's no. This is a line. You either cross it or you don't. And I loved it. I loved the execution. I loved how we got here. I loved being mostly on her side, but being a little bit ambiguous.
She's smoking hot as well. I just put that out.
She's a beautiful woman.
Eastern European women are fantastic.
She was a beautiful woman. But she's so basically it's fine. There's no. I remember like the next feeding he invites her, but he says to the doctor Jan.
Yeah.
He said you disobeyed a direct order. I actually thought he was going to get a bullet in the head then, but he has again the guy. That guy is again every character is complex. That guy was both a coward, but a coward with some sort of conscience.
Yeah, and before the colonel brings her in for the second feeding time. Cosmonaut Constantine meets her. He kind of pulls her off to one side and explains that he's been a bit more aware of what the creature's been doing.
She tells him. No, she tells him that there's a creature inside of him.
Yeah.
Sorry, she goes for a jog. She gets permission for him to go for a jog. She gives him a little bit more freedom as the film goes on. He gets a little apartment type thing.
Yeah.
But he goes for a jog. And she tells him, and I mean, we're talking the first 50 yards of the jog. We're talking almost immediately.
Yeah.
And he literally turns around and starts jogging back. He says, meet me here at 1 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah, because...
And, this is where it's going to be hard to follow the film now because there's so many spinning plates here.
Yeah, so pretty much like... So now he devises a plan that he's going to meet her secret rendezvous. And what we see now is they go back to him in his apartment later on. And he pretty much goes, meet me at 1 o'clock. Now I have to go to sleep or so. And he goes back in and he gets his medication. And then they go and he kind of, hooks it back up. Like what's the word I'm looking for? Not gags it back up, but retches it back
regurgitates.
up. Yeah, regurgitate. Thank
regurgitates.
Yeah, regurgitate.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating when
Yeah.
regurgitate.
Regurgitate.
You know, you have to have that on the soundboard. It's just a word that comes up too often.
Yeah. But yeah, so like he regurgitates the medicine and then crushes it up, puts it into a tea mug or a teacup or whatever, and he invites the nurse that's been left to monitor him in to watch a movie with him, and she like gives in because he's obviously this national hero, you know, cosmonaut Constantine, whatever the fuck his surname is, because I'm not trying to mispronounce that again because I wrecked it the last time. But so he invites her in. He obviously spikes her tea. She conks out, and he sneaks over, takes a magnet, I think, out of the TV, out of the back of the TV set. It's like one of them old school, like chunky TVs. And he sneaks out and meets up with Dr. Klimova. And they go underneath this camera that has a little bit of a blind spot to it, I think. And they sneak up underneath it, and he
puts a magnet on it.
He sticks the magnet.
He takes the magnet from his back of his television. This was really clever.
Yeah.
He takes the magnet out of the back of his television, and he puts it on the camera, which interferes with the signal.
Yeah.
So when the guy comes out and checks it, and he's like, I don't know, stupid camera, whatever.
Yeah.
And in the time it's going to take him to get back to his station,
Yeah.
they move.
Yeah, they'd be able to sneak away.
And I remember just thinking, that was clever. That was clever. That wasn't like some really, really high, like, you know, people used to like take still pictures and put it up in front of the camera, all this kind of shit in these espionage films. And I was like, yeah, no, it's clever, man. That's some MacGyver stuff. Use what's around you and for the results.
Is this where they try to escape, or is this before that?
No, this is where they get into the room where the other cosmonaut, the one who did not survive,
Oh yeah,
is being
Avinchenko.
kept. Yeah. And this is again, like the complexity of the characters. Our cowardly Yam Doctor has showed a little bit of backbone, or at least moral compass. At this point, the guy that we've been rooting for, our Constantine, he tells her that he knows.
Yeah.
That he can feel it, and like he's growingly aware, cognizant of what's been going on, fully, like he is the one ripping the heads off.
Yeah, full symbiosis has been complete near. Yeah,
full symbiosis. Yeah, we're getting close to full symbiosis.
Yeah, because he's literally said that he can see through the creature's eyes, pretty much.
Yes,
because he says the creature is him and he is the creature, kind of thing. Like,
and then he has this whole, why shouldn't I survive? Why shouldn't I? And then I was like, oh wow, because now.
Because it's not his fault.
The Colonel died. Exactly. But the Colonel was no nonsense, everything for the greater good.
Yeah.
No. He's a military industrial complex guy. Then the cowardly guy actually had a bit of backbone and was trying to help. And then the only guy we knew we were rooting for, the poor son of a bitch that had a alien parasite symbiote, whatever you want to call it, living in his throat, is a bit of a dick.
Yeah, well...
And I was just like, well, you know, a little bit. No, the story continues. But in this scene, I'm using the word dick, and I'm not backing down from it.
He's always been a bit of a dick, I suppose, to kind of show throughout with the way his relationship with...
Well, Yuan makes a great line. Yeah. She goes, I see now why I chose you.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Because, like, he shows that he lives in a more grey morality zone kind of thing, like, for, like, totally a lack of a better term. But, like, he looks at things like, as you said before, the end justifies the means kind of thing. For like, as long as he survives,
as long as it suits me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the ends justifying the means would not involve me giving up my life for the greater good. No, the end justifies the means, and the end is me getting the fuck out of here. Like,
and now he decides that, like, literally, there's going to be 2 weeks, and a team's going to be sent in here in 2 weeks. To investigate what's going on, and he's going to get released, and he asked her to allow him to pretty much let the creature feed for another 2 weeks, and because this is where he's pretty much accepted that him and the creature's existence is becoming very, like, pretty much bound together. Their survival is becoming bound together, and he knows this obviously better than we, you know what I mean, that like he knows this better than anybody else, that like separation is maybe not the best thing for him, you know what I mean, and the creature, because like that's why he wants her to allow him to have these 2 weeks, let the creature feed, and then hopefully he can get out or return to Moscow. And this is now the next scene is where the second feeding, isn't it the second feeding time?
Yes. Or yes. And she has obviously reconsidered. Like she has I love how much to put on her plate.
Yeah.
because they've done a few things to prove that she's a hyper intelligent woman. To prove that she has a moral compass, and then when she goes really overweight to help this man, it proves that he's not, like, he's aware of what he's doing, aware of what the symbiote is doing, which is a whole other moral conundrum. If I was knocked out, like quite literally comatose, and something that lived inside me did so, I would not in any way, shape, or form be responsible for that. No more than a plane engine falling out of the sky. Nothing to do with me. And it turns out it's not that straightforward. So now she's kind of left in this kind of moral quandary. Where do I help him or do I stop him?
And
I loved it. I just thought.
And how do I help him? If I'm going to help him,
or how do I stop him?
You know what I mean? Like,
you know what I mean? Like, that's where she was at that particular moment in time.
And so when it comes to this, Colonel Semerdov, he brings her out, marches her back into this whole like enclosed area that we've seen before. They get two criminals, they march them out and they throw them onto the ground, and they're like they have their mouths all gagged and shit, and then we see the creature emerge. Like, I love how the creature like takes on like different forms and shit. Sometimes, like when it's coming out this time for feeding time number 2 or whatever we want to call this scene, it's like it all of a sudden has claws, so it can move quicker along the concrete ground, like, and shit, and then like it gets closer to the it's about to, like,
it's evolving in real time.
Yeah, like that's the thing, like, because the Colonel Semerdov said back was something we've kind of jumped over by mistake, was like, remember she says that your man cosmonaut Konstantin should be brought back to a hospital in Moscow, and he says we don't know enough about this creature. For all we know, it might not be fully grown yet, that it could be just a baby or a spawn or whatever, that it could grow to a size that dwarfs them. And this is the thing that we're seeing, like, throughout this, that the creature's adapting and it's evolving, and like that's the issue. But you can't let, even though you want to get the cosmonaut out of there to get, like, proper healthcare, whatever the fuck, the risk is the alien goes with him, and what happens next if you put it in, like, an urban area or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
or how strong does it get?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, they even said like, are we dealing with something that's literally in its the absolute earliest stages of its life?
Yeah.
Did it exist out in the, like, they don't know. And I like films, like, it became okay about 10 or 20 years ago, I feel, for films to kind of start telling you, no, we don't know.
Yeah.
And we're going to shoot this from the perspective of somebody who couldn't possibly know.
Yeah.
Literally somebody who works at a gas station that has a gun underneath the counter and survives this original onslaught. Why would you expect him to know?
Yeah.
But this one did it on a huge scale, where even though it's the military, this is so untreaded ground.
Yeah.
Where they can't possibly know. Like, could this thing become 10 feet tall? Could it move at the speed of sound?
Yeah, or could it start replicating or something like...
Replicate, become as strong as a fucking Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, bulletproof. Like, like, is this a help or a hindrance?
Yeah. And like,
your man was testing the waters.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where the continued evolution continues, I guess. But yeah,
I know. Yeah, you were stuck in a situation where you had to use continued twice in a sentence.
But so
unfolds, by the way, was the word you should have used.
So this is where the continuing evolution unfolds.
There we go.
I guess. So she watches on as 2 inmates are about to be fed to this creature, and she knows now that the cosmonaut and the creature both have they're not only intrinsically linked, but he sees through the creature's eyes, and so she decides to go in and put herself in the in the way of danger, like she likes to do in this movie. And she thinks that if I can communicate through the creature and reach the cosmonaut, maybe I can actually still communicate with the human inside this symbiotic relationship and prevent it from, committing murder, and maybe we can communicate and start, like, working on a way of separating. Because her whole idea is separate symbiote from cosmonaut Constantine. Hopefully the symbiote...
I feel like that's a big sin we've committed.
Yeah.
Is that she was under the impression that... I'm not sure she was, because a clinical psychologist obviously wouldn't know an awful lot about DNA, an awful lot about symbiosis or whatever, but that she was under the impression that that's what they were there to do.
Yeah.
Was to simply release this man from this creature and have him go home and see his mother as they brought up a few times and live a normal life. But yeah, it's clearly at this stage she's painfully aware that guy is literally just a thing. It could have been you, it could have been me, it could have been our mother's daughter, sisters, brothers. It doesn't matter. It was an extremely expendable entity that she gave a shit about against an extremely dangerous entity that she did give a shit about. But the exact reverse was true of the Russian, the USSR era military. Like, fuck me, what a fantastic background. She's just she's literally the single only woman on the Kazakhstan steppes. Even that just sounds awful. You know what I mean? But how have to take on like space?
But this is where like she tries to communicate with the creature, and she starts singing the song from the beginning that Ivanchenko sang to Cosmonaut Konstantin in the Orbiter 4. She says, remember, a million scarlet roses.
And this is an excellent one.
And then the creature starts
to react.
And
two things become clear. Excuse me, I'm speaking.
No, go ahead.
Two things become clear. One was that it had grown auditory receptors. Because
as you said, it is evolving in real time.
It is evolving.
Yeah.
But the fact that it reacted to it, and second, that obviously his actual psyche, in a huge way, was now inside of it. I mean, this thing was ripping people's heads off and eating them.
Yeah. And not only now, that's the second time it's after reacting to something that is actually means something to Konstantin, and not obviously the toy initially, and now the song that Ivanchenko sang. So as you said, now we see now that the two of them are actually totally intertwined. That the creature,
and there's something that backs up. There's something that backs up my statement earlier, and that's in when she slipped on the goo when she was going to touch the creature's ear when she gave him the toy. Is that I think it was her fear that he reacted to that because she had no auditory receptors. You're losing me.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Zero?
No, it's really jumpy, and your pictures after freezing with your hand like this. Can you hear me?
Am I moving?
No, I know
you're back. I can hear you. You never broke up.
You were like this in your in your picture. It was funny.
Oh, and I was actually holding that for a second. Was I zero? That's what I was wondering. Like, was I completely done?
Sorry. No, you cut out on me when we were talking about the audio receptors when it started to evolve.
Right. It evolved auditory receptors, and they were all kind of there to witness it.
Yeah.
But then it was clear that it was reacting A to her lack of fear, and B to its recognition, the human's recognition of her.
Yeah.
And then there's a really cool scene that again backs up my statement that when she was trying to touch the ear of the creature earlier and slipped, I think it reacted to her fear.
Yeah.
And that is that one of the prisoners that was there to be fed to it slips against the cage.
He's such an idiot.
Freaks out. And then it just pounces by her and just tears his fucking skull out.
Could that prisoner have made any more noise? Like, literally, this creature's like, just got ears. And he's like, no, I'm going to do a shit ton of noise. Like, immediately, like, you know what I mean? Like,
he might as well have said, don't kill me. I've such a delicious brain to live for.
Yeah. It's like, do you know what I lean against? The wire fence. I wonder will that make any noise? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just roll up against it, back and forth. You know what I mean? And then the creature.
He's probably on his Tinder profile, like, hobbies include being terrified by nicey fences.
Yeah. But so like as soon as he starts feeling fear for the creature, immediately the creature just fucking jumps on him and eats his head. You know, sucking down that cortisol milkshake. Delish.
Yeah, that's it. It was surviving on cortisol.
Yeah.
And at this point, it seems like the symbiosis got to a point where when she meets him again, Konstantin, he just says, I could have killed you.
Yeah, not it.
So we're done now. We're done with the kind of like, everyone's like had a moment, drunk, tired, or just young, or looking back on things where it's very foggy.
Yeah.
Where you're undeniable, it's undeniably a memory or an experience of yours, but it's foggy. It's not something you can really tangibly grab.
Yeah.
And obviously for him, it was like that but except it was playing out in real time.
Yeah.
And they did an excellent job of explaining that. But this was the first time he said, like, you did this extremely specific thing, and I could have done this extremely specific thing.
Yeah.
As in, that creature was him with the hunger.
Yeah.
Him with the need, whatever that creature needs. Him with its digestive system, its needs, its requirements, but him all the same.
Yeah.
And I thought, at that point, I really was in love with this film.
And then
I really was.
Yeah, after she sees that and she understands that they're like the creature is him and he's the creature, that she decides to come up with a plan that I'm going to try and get the creature. This is where she wonders, why was Avanchenko taken and not why was Avanchenko not taken, and why was Cosmonaut Constantine taken instead? And she looks at, like, first of all, Constantine, like, we touched on that maybe he's evil or whatever, but they look at it from a more scientific point of view, and she does an autopsy or whatever on Avanchenko, and she realizes that he suffers from Addison's disease, I think she calls it. It's a form of like it's a form of cancer. I'm not sure what type of cancer. I think she's maybe her liver or kidneys.
Is it a form of cancer?
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, I guess that gloss, because I do remember that. Not to jump too far ahead, but she wants to give him an injection which mimics in the human system the cause of it. I didn't realize it was something as severe as a cause of cancer. I didn't know if it was in the I guess it was fine, they were just explaining it. I didn't look into it. I didn't know if it was like something in the area of a severe form of diabetes or just.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know, just something.
I think
just something
it falls back in the age-old thing, like a virus or any kind of parasite. The host needs to be healthy for it to replicate and survive long enough for it to reach maturity.
Exactly.
So obviously, Avanchenko, who was like in the early stages of cancer, the creature picked up on this, obviously through biochemistry or whatever, could detect it, and that's how it survives and be successful as a symbiote, because it knows what to attach itself to and stuff like that. And so Avanchenko wasn't a good host, and that's the reason it chose Constantine, because he was more healthy. And so she decides that what they're going to do is mimic, as you touched on, the effects of Addison's to try part the creature from Cosmonaut Constantine, try to get him the fuck out of that base, so the creature cannot catch up to within the 50-minute to 1 hour window. They perceive it can survive in our atmosphere, and this leads into the climax now.
I assume that she kind of believes that. Suddenly, she believes that it wasn't. Yes, his morals are like questionable, but also panicked.
Yeah,
and that's okay. That's a human reaction.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying situation that he's in, and not one that anyone is. And there's no booklet.
Yeah.
You know that. So she just kind of decides to like wait. I think when she realized the other guy, it wasn't that like. Again, its sense of smell. I kind of got the assumption was just like God tier, like something that we can't even.
I think it's
fathom.
more
like
pheromonal. I don't even think it's a sense of smell.
Or even like whatever. It's literal body could react
biochemistry.
To
I think
beyond smell. Exactly. Like just something completely beyond our understanding, because its evolution is something that we've never experienced.
Yeah, like a shark with blood in the water. It smelled like a mile away.
It must have had. Yeah, exactly. But she was she said, right, I'm gonna roll the dice on this guy, that he deserves to live.
Yeah.
He deserves to get the fuck out of here. And she turns to Doctor can't make up his mind about what his character is.
Jan Eagle.
Jan.
Yeah.
The bravest, most chicken shit, fucking spineless, by the book. This guy was a yo-yo. I loved him.
Yeah, he couldn't settle on whether or not to be loyal to Russia, or how to be loyal to Russia, or should he be loyal to himself, and what's his best chances of survival. And then eventually,
it turns out that he was a bit of a meek character, but not a piece of shit.
Yeah, totally in over his head.
I would describe him as. And I always love, like, like, somebody like a character like that always makes me aware when I'm watching
Yeah.
a film that I look at, like, you look at, like Arnold Schwarzenegger hunting down the predator, and he's your hero.
Yeah.
So that's pinnacle. Like, I mean, it's not difficult, but you kind of go, what would I be if I was in that situation?
Get to the
But
chopper.
him, I could see myself being only to the sense where there has to be a line where I just think, can I live with this?
Yeah.
I'm not the guy who gets, like, gets a handgun in Nakazawa building and takes down.
I'd be trying to make friends with the alien. I'd be like, hey, dude.
Yeah, I would try and I would welcome our new overlords.
Yeah, I'd be like,
you know what I mean?
I'd be like, hey, guy, what's the crack? Yeah, I'll, like, if you don't.
I do a Ken Brockman from Simpsons and remind it that I can be used to round up others.
Yeah. I don't mind being a person wrangler. Oh, wait, no, that leads to Nazis. That goes down a weird place. But, so, like, yeah.
But it was.
So this is where she asked Jan, as you were touching on the kind of yo-yo coward dude, that will he help her obtain these kind of chemicals or something? She names out a load, like 3 or 4 different things.
Right. That cause different reactions in the human body.
Yeah. Because she makes him believe.
Sembrate, but she makes it clear. It's the sembrate is not a word. Separate the parasite.
Yeah.
Maybe symbiote, again, alien.
Yeah.
From the human. And he explains where they pretend that they're looking over the body of the other dead cosmonaut, and she just says it straight. I loved how, like, they didn't lead up to it. She just says, like, oh, look over here. I want to look at these, throat wounds. And she goes, I'm planning on getting them out here tonight. What I need is like 50 cc's of blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And she just says, look, I'm doing it. Like, you're going to fucking help me. And I just loved it. I loved there's something about America. Like, I mean, this isn't me shitting on American films. American films have given me 99% of my entertainment over the years.
Shitting on American films.
And I'm extremely grateful, but there's something about the flow of this that felt different.
Yeah.
She just, like, said, come over here for a second. So anyway, here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, okay.
She was so loud,
like
wasn't she? Like, yeah. She's like the loudest whisperer of all time.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Like, I was just like...
He's like, hey, guard over there. This is what we're going to be doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like,
anyway, guard, I'm just doing an autopsy. Yeah. Literally 1 decibel lower.
Wink, nudge.
Anyway,
you literally said wink.
I'm planning on stabbing the guard in the neck with a sedative. And then,
what was that? No. Yeah. So, like, this is where she devises her plan to get away from the Me Too aspect.
Right.
So this is where she devises her plan to get her and Cosmo Constantine out of the base and back to Moscow to receive proper medical attention or whatever the fuck. So this is, like, as you said, like, she asks Jan for loads of, like, chemicals. He brings them to her in the most, like, obvious way possible, in a giant box. He hands them to her, like, the next day. Like, she's standing there. He hands her a giant box. She starts putting her mixture together. Walks over. No, she says to him... No, she walks over, stabs the guard in the neck with the sedative. He passes out, and she says to Jan, do you not know about it, or did you try to stop me? Because she takes the handgun from the guard. And that's pretty much her way of saying, do you want to just flee, or do you want me to shoot you? Like, give you an injury to make it look like you tried to stop me from doing this. And he obviously decides to flee because he's a bitch. And she takes the chemicals, and she makes her way to getting Cosmonaut Constantine from his apartment or whatever the fuck he is, I think, to escape from the base. And now it's like it's a cat and mouse game now, where Colonel Semradov tries to hunt them down. Or, it's all about them trying to escape the base before he can catch them. And she wants to separate the parasite from Cosmonaut Constantine in the process of getting far enough away from the parasite so the symbiosis can die or whatever. And so they escape, and we see Dr. Yan or whatever. He goes to make a phone call. He barricades himself into a room, and Colonel Semradov sees them on the camera or something, I think. So he says, get the fire squad or whatever they call it. Get the SWAT team in, pretty much.
kill her.
Oh yeah,
Do not.
yeah, terminate her, but keep him alive, pretty much, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly it.
Yeah, and
I love, like, not to jump too far ahead, but there's a scene where, like, they show up, they've got all the flashlights on their guns. There's just a huge stream of light coming down this, like, narrow kind of, I think there's a few vehicles and a fence. I don't think it's like it's not a hallway or anything, but like this narrow way. And she steps out just beside him, and they must all, like, have such crazy faith in their shots. It's like, we can't kill this guy. It's a matter of national security.
Yeah.
One girl says, like, 1 inch to the left, and we go, everyone fire.
But I guess so.
I believe in you guys.
Yeah.
What can I?
Yeah, like, I think we can pretty much pick it up from there, like, because, like, it's the run into the climax now, where Semradov's team tries to kill her and capture him, and it's like you said, she stands in front of him trying to make herself like a human shield. They fire him, two of them take cover, and now this scene's probably one of the best action sequences, if not the best one in the whole film. Like, and the way they build with the music and the whole transformation.
Right, sorry.
So he's on one.
Well, we should say the doctor's dead. The doctor had one last showdown with the colonel where he got a call out, and the colonel said to him that it didn't make much difference. He's not a soldier, but he gave him an honourable death. And before he could say anything, he just.
I love the way he shoots me.
A quick round.
Yeah, do you remember he goes, "I'm going to give you an honourable death on account of your scientific endeavours." What a fucking
exactly
line.
What he said.
Yeah, what a line. That stuck with me. I was like, oh my God, that's a really good line. You know what I mean? Like, so, and it's, so,
that's what I'm going to say to you, Vin. That's what I'm going
right
to say.
Right before you
shoot
me.
It won't make an awful lot of sense, but you'll be dead.
Yeah, we're so, like, haphazard that, like, you'll probably shoot me and end up shooting yourself by accident, like, with the recoil.
Yeah, no, we just, We're probably, like, right in the junk.
Yeah.
Where I have to deal with your smelly carcass and my head.
It's in my raccoon wounds.
Family Guy. Love it. Yes.
And
but anyway, the doctor's dead, and they so in this scene, I love the scene, and if I may, because you kind of walked me into it really well, and it brought it back to my memory, is that she obviously has something that could a syringe, but she thought, like, he could survive an hour with the creature inside of his body, excuse me. So she thought, let's get close to a hospital, do our thing, and let's do that. But he, obviously, they're being pinned down by gunfire.
Yeah, it's an awesome scene.
So he says, give me the syringe. And they're like, it's a stupid idea. It's almost impossible for him to survive.
Yeah.
But they're in an impossible situation. So she throws him the syringe. And they're all like firing. And then the creature literally just, it's such a subtle Hulk moment.
Yeah.
I was saying, like, it's just like,
I love the scene. It's so awesome. Like,
oh no! Again, I'll be watching that scene.
The way they use the music, though, all the way throughout this film. Like I said to you before, even before I rewatched it today, I mentioned to you about the soundtrack or the score, or whatever. Like, and then when I rewatched it today, I forgotten how good it was. And in this scene, the way they build tension, the way they rise the pressure of the scene, the moment, like. It's everything's just like really, really tense, and then, as you said, it's like a Hulk scene, or like it always reminded me, is like, you know, when people transform into werewolves in movies, where his back arches and his eyes go like the darkest of black, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just like he becomes in that moment, you know, he's slightly less human, and then like it cuts back to the soldiers. And they're waiting. They don't know what the fuck's coming next. And they have their guns raised. The spotlights are faced in on it. And all of a sudden, you see the hand of the creature coming around the corner. And now, you know, shit's about to go down. And then the creature comes out and starts, like, decimating all the soldiers and shit. Like, man, that whole scene, the way they build to it, the way they execute it is absolutely awesome. It's such a wordy, it technically wasn't a climax, but like climactic action sequence. Like, big action sequence.
No, I suppose climax is another word for me, at least in film terms. It's like a crescendo, like a point that was built up to where it really just lets loose, and that was like, it was just the badassness of the creature versus where did I lose it?
You know, because you said, like, you go, climax for me is where you build up something from a big crescendo and you just let loose. You can see where my 12-year-old brain.
Oh, no, I'm 100% there with you.
Sorry, no, finish your point.
Sorry,
I'm
no.
sorry.
In all honesty, I shouldn't have been jerking off during this whole fucking thing. But
This fucking guy.
but this was the scene. This was
Mm.
like it even had the like smoke effect, kind of like like
Yeah.
emerging, like almost like a wrestler
Yeah.
does in the WWE. You know what I mean? Like there's just that kind of like reveal.
Yeah.
And they go to shooting it, but then it's cool because we know it's super strong.
Yeah.
Like we know it's at least as strong as 10 men.
Mm.
You know, it could just pull your head clean off your shoulder, and we know it's fast.
Yeah.
We know because we've seen it pounce. But then it just starts moving. Like again, what I said to you was, and I know this isn't like strictly a xenomorph.
Yeah.
Just absolute,
Oh, yeah.
incredible pouncing ability to hold on to walls or whatever.
Yeah.
You know that it doesn't have to treat it like a jumping base. It can literally
Yeah.
grasp and and clever reflexes. It's not going to be caught off guard, and it tears a small unit of army soldiers.
Yeah.
2 pieces.
And while that's going on, Dr. Klimova has shoved Cosmo Constantine into a jeep, and they're starting to flee now into the Kazakhstani desert because she wants to get him far enough away from the creature, so the creature has to take more than an hour to catch up, so it will die in our atmosphere. This is her plan. And so now that the creature's outside of the body, she's left the creature to fight, and the creature will probably grow weaker and weaker the further to get away. This is her idea. And she thinks that the cosmonaut will become healthier the further to get away from each other. So she drives off into the desert, and what we see is Colonel Semradov meets up with the remnants of the last few guys that are left, and he gets his gun and goes after the creature, and the creature pretty much lunges at him, and he fires the gun. And then we see like the next shot is her in the desert, and something starts going wrong with Cosmo Constantine. He starts like his health starts fading, and then it cuts back, I think, to the colonel. He's like on the ground. The creature's injured, and he's missing a hand. And the creature gets up, and he fires a couple of more rounds, a short burst at the creature, and looks like the creature's dead. And then it cuts back now to the desert, where I think she's pulling over the car because his health is starting to deteriorate. And
right, because our colonel had gone in and got a few shots off on the creature and survived, unlike all the other guys. Just to show he's a bit of a badass. And as he does, he literally just sits up and spits blood onto the windshield.
Yeah, I forgot about that actually.
Exactly. So he's literally, the symbiosis is pretty much complete.
Yeah.
If not complete. I mean, it's not, there's no big reveal from this point of our conversation onwards where it's more complete. It's so he's dying. So she stops and takes him out of the vehicle, and then the car, she lets the army catch up with her, and our colonel buddy gets out, and she says, "I give up. Just I'm wrong.
Yes.
He can't survive without
full symbiosis.
Get back.
Full symbiosis
Exactly.
is complete.
Full symbiosis is complete, basically." And he says, "Right, like again, it's just that kind of creepy bad guy talk thing that they do." And they took the creature, which is like showed some semblance of life, not even
pure
at this
limp,
point.
pretty much.
But he does the whole thing of like shooting her.
Yeah.
Which
he doesn't shoot her, dude. He does like the Vulcan deck grip on her. Do you remember? He just like this, like a fucking.
Oh, that's right. He sticks into her raccoon wound.
He's it's like it's weird because you were talking about into raccoon wounds. You snuck that one past me. I love when people do that. I love when people do that.
Cerebral, man. Cerebral.
I love that though when somebody says something that takes your brain a second to catch up, and the joke just lands on you. Then like. But as you said, like he takes her out and shit goes down. But like after he does the Vulcan deck grip, what did you think was going to happen next? How did you think this scene was going to play out in comparison to how it played out, or do you expect it to play out this way?
I'll be honest, it played out how I expected it to. I'll be honest, that actually, if I'm being completely honest, it played out exactly all of the way through.
I think
it seemed like he was extremely far gone.
Yeah.
This creature itself isn't something that should be introduced. Obviously introduced to society is absolutely ludicrous. So it was going to have this like grandstand.
Yeah.
This And it just kicked to life based on purely on its will, because it itself was very injured. And it just tore. Like, I mean, when it caught up to the colonel, it didn't. I thought it was going to tear its head off, but it was basically like a cannonball wound. It just tore like the front 2/3 of his entire head off, like it was made of jello.
And this whole scene,
fantastic.
the whole scene plays out in daylight, and I think it benefits so much from it because you can see every little bit of detail.
When used well, I know it's not the way horror is done. When used well, it's phenomenal.
Daylight.
Because, exactly. It's like this thing where we always expect that we're absolutely safe during the day. Oh, man, 70-80% of the shit that goes horrible in the world happens during the daylight hours. And it was just so well executed. Again, the special effects.
The way
were fantastic.
The way it finishes though after it kills Colonel Semidov, and then we see other trucks come in the distance, and I think reabsorbs the creature at this stage. And like,
well, it kind of walks by the girl and she's holding his hand, Constantine's hand, and it goes by and it gives her a little bit of a "go fuck yourself, bitch."
Yeah.
And Monster, that's like, and then she says, I can't remember. There's one of those like clever little "I already have" moments, whatever that meant. I can't remember the context.
Yeah.
And he shoots himself. Basically, I don't know,
in the chest,
just below the heart. Yeah, just below the heart or something. A fatal shot.
Yeah, because the creature lives in his esophagus and chest.
Exactly. So he dies.
Yeah. So he finally let go of his survival being the number one priority of his existence.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing. That's his redemption arc.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Everybody, and not a single. Well, I suppose the doctor, like our main woman, was quite consistent.
Yeah.
That's not to say she didn't have surprises, but she was quite consistent. But everybody else had multitudes to be it good or bad.
I know we ran to the climax there, but like the conclusion there, but like throughout the movie as well, something we forgot to touch upon was we kept seeing a little kid in an orphanage. And it would shoot to and from.
This is what I was saying to you, man. It is.
Yeah, it's so much. Yeah, there's so much in it. Like, and we see this little kid in an orphanage throughout it, and he's like the little kids. We were, we assume as a boy, trying to get runners, but the kid's in a wheelchair, and keeps failing in his attempt to get these shoes. And we assume throughout the entire movie that this kid is obviously Cosmonaut Constantine's abandoned child in Rostov in its orphanage. And then when we figure out that at the end of the movie that the kid is not only not a boy, but the kid's name is what did you say, Tanya? So we find out that the kid's name is Tanya.
Yeah.
And
the little boy was a little girl.
Yeah, the little boy was a little girl and her name was Tanya. And so we find out then at the same time that Dr. Klimova is going to adopt Lyosha, I think his name was Lyosha.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Lyosha, I think his name was the cosmonaut's a strange child, and at the same time we find out then that the reason the abandonment of his child resonated so much with her is because she too was an abandoned child and grew up through the orphanage system herself. So like as you said, this movie has loads of layers, and like the motivations of the characters and shit are made pretty clear, and they're very it's very deep. And it's much more just a creature feature, as you said. Like, it's like it encompasses so much in it. It's a really strong movie, and I love the way it reminds me a lot of was like a 1980s Cold War era version of Venom. That's what the whole movie smacked of to me. Like,
I actually think this film might be in my top 50 films, and I know 50 is a lot, like a lot. Yeah. But like I'm a complete fucking total dork, so like. 50, 50 is in a top tier. It is, it does score quite highly.
Yeah.
I just felt, I said this to you before we started recording, I felt annoyed with myself because just, I don't know, me and Sheila, my partner, we kind of we kept looking at films lately and just kind of going, I know, we've loved 100 Japanese horror films from The Grudge to
these cultured people,
whatever you have. But then we just kind of go subtitles another time, and we're so spoiled because we're English speakers. As in, you can only imagine somebody who goes on Netflix from somewhere further east, and they kind of go like, "Oh, there's like 2-3 things for us," and there's huge stuff. But A couple of minutes in, I kind of stopped seeing the subtitles. It's just like that's your way of taking it in.
Yeah.
You're able to, you just get into the flow of it. And I was annoyed at myself that I had deprived myself of this absolute gem.
Yeah, dude.
Gem.
I think like you're lucky because you get to see, like, you should always be happy that you get to see something for the first time because you'll never be able to get.
I have had that where somebody kind of goes, "Oh, I've never watched what," and you go, "You never watched
you know what I mean? Like
Predator," like, you know.
But consider stuff looking like. Thankfully, Bicey came across the trailer. He sent it to me, and in happenstance, I ended up getting to do an article about it a few days afterwards, which was kind of weird. But I love the premise. I love really dark, alien centric horror thriller sci-fi. It hits so many different genre beats. I love that about these type of movies, and I'm always enamored with these kind of movies: Alien, Predator, like Sputnik, and the way, like, as soon as I seen a hero astronaut brings back an alien life form with him, that's exactly like Venom. And I was like, I want to see what the Russians do with a Venom story, and I was not disappointed.
No, I wasn't either. I mean, you like bounce ideas and stories off each other, feed them through conversation or through WhatsApp or whatever. And often, like, to know ultimate kind of like reason. It's just not, it's nice to chat and it's nice to flex that muscle, I guess. But this, no, we weren't coming up with this.
Yeah.
We weren't. This was very clever, very inspired. I would imagine, and I would imagine being my caveat for I am not saying anything in definitive terms, that the person who wrote this grew up in that era.
Yeah.
And just remembers whatever it was, whatever paranoia, whatever kind of like propaganda, whatever the world looked like from his corner of the world at the time. He was able to write this terrific story. I'd imagine it was born in him a long time ago.
Yeah.
And to see it to fruition and to see it executed so well, I commend him. I commend him totally.
Yeah, it's really, 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 really solid. Like, all the reallys, but it's such a solid movie though. Like, from start to finish, the way it encompasses so much in the storyline, and I love, like, the soundtrack is so fucking awesome. I love the way some, like, movies use imagery and sound, and the way they combine them is just like, I don't know, it's awe-inspiring. Like, another movie I love, and I'm sure we'd cover, I'm going to an eye on, we do cover, it's Color Out of Space, based on the H.P. Lovecraft work, star Nicolas Cage. Like, the way they use color and sound in that movie as well is just absolutely incredible, and I love the way it moves.
Phenomenal film.
It just, like, when it's done right, it just leaves a mark on you, and that's why I've already watched Sputnik 3 times, even though it's only been out 6 or 7 months. It's a great movie. I definitely would recommend it. Like, Noel, would you recommend it to anyone that would be otherwise not inclined to watch this?
I will annoy people.
Yeah.
I will break their tiny little spirits. I will make people
not unlike the Soviet Union.
Political. That's right.
Allegedly.
That's right.
Allegedly.
Commentary.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Allegedly. Like, I'm sorry. They allegedly broke.
That's right. We do commentary.
Yeah.
We do commentary.
Yeah, we're hip.
Capitalism is absolutely amazing and never ever makes anyone die from needing insulin. But
look at this guy, huh? I didn't know he was so much
against
diabetes.
but I would recommend this film in the absolute strongest of terms.
Yeah.
There are some unfortunate souls in my life who are going to have to watch this film, which is a reward, frankly. But just to shut me up, they'll have to do it. They'll have to put aside whatever it is they were doing and watch this, and I'll shut the fuck up for now. But this film is in the it's a fantastic film.
I'm
just so impressed.
It's incredibly rewatchable. I know you've only seen it once, but I every time I rewatch it now, I've enjoyed it more than the previous viewing. It's like, I'll just say that to people, it's incredibly rewatchable. Like, the whole million scales that will stick in your head, like, every time you watch it.
Of course, how could it not? That's so catchy.
Yeah, I've been literally, like, singing that for the past 2 days because I knew we were going to be doing this next.
Really?
Yeah, like,
million scales.
Yeah, like, I've literally been singing that for 2 days in the build-up because I knew.
At least you have it flawless Russian accent.
Yeah, I am pretty sure Moscovian.
I just hope, just don't put you singing that at the start of the podcast because people's going to think it's a Russian podcast.
They'll probably will get sued because they'll think it's an excerpt from the movie. My accent's
because
so spot on.
is.
It's
exactly. Yeah,
it's who I am now.
You just
I don't watch
shit.
movies. I become movies.
Yeah, well, the same as like Comrade.
But like, sure, will we get the fuck out here? Have you got anything else to say about this?
No, not at all. I absolutely loved it, and I think we covered it quite well. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think so too. How do you say goodbye in Russian?
Asvidanya?
До свидания.
Das Vidanya.
Yeah, it came up in the Cyrillic alphabet first, and I nearly took a heart attack. Trying to read that. But so pretty much, I'm your host, Vincent Green. He's your host, Noel John Tootie. We'll get the fuck out here.
Peace out, peeps.
Peeps out. This was the Invasion of the Potty Snatchers, and that was Sputnik. See you next time, and we will be back with David Cronenberg's cult classic body horror, The Fly, starring Jeff Goldblum. So if you're interested in Dave Cronenberg and Jeff Goldblum being shirtless a lot, come out and check us out in The Fly, because that's what we'll be doing next. See you next time. Noel, say goodbye.
Bye-bye.